How Brands Grow What Marketers Don't Know by Byron Sharp. Picture this. You're running marketing for Colgate toothpaste in the United States when Margaret, one of your managers, practically sprints into your office clutching a market research report like it's a death certificate. She's not just worried. She's borderline panicking. Here's what has her spooked. The report shows Crest has double your market share, but that's old news. What's really keeping her up at night is this. Nearly 40% of Crest's sales come from die-hard loyalists who buy their brand almost exclusively. Meanwhile, only 21% of Colgate's sales come from loyal customers. A whopping 68% comes from switchers, people who occasionally toss Colgate into their cart, but usually grab something else. Margaret's practically hyperventilating. Our customer base is a disaster. We're attracting disloyal buyers. Should we be updating our resumes? The research agency backs her up. Their prescription? More persuasive advertising. Target your loyal customers harder. Launch campaigns screaming about Colgate's superior quality. So here's the million-dollar question. What would you do? Sound the alarms? Burn everything down and rebuild your marketing strategy from scratch? What if the right answer was to literally do nothing? To calmly tell Margaret that these terrifying numbers are actually completely normal, predictable, and even healthy for a brand of Colgate's size? This isn't some ivory tower thought experiment. It's a real scenario that exposes a massive blind spot at the core of modern marketing, one that's burned through billions of dollars and sent generations of marketers chasing their tails. Professor Byron Sharp has spent his career transforming marketing from an art into a science, and he decided to tackle this confusion head-on. His book, How Brands Grow What Marketers Don't Know, isn't just another marketing playbook. It's basically a rebellion. He takes the sacred ideas we've absorbed for decades, differentiation, targeting, segmentation, brand loyalty, and tests them against actual evidence. The results? Pretty shocking. By the time we're done here, you'll understand the simple scientific laws that actually govern how people buy things. You'll learn why chasing loyal customers is often a wild goose chase, why trying to be different can be a trap, and why the real secret to growth is way simpler and more powerful than anyone's been telling you. This isn't just marketing theory. It's about understanding human behavior and the predictable patterns that shape our world in ways we rarely notice. Let's circle back to that panicked Colgate manager. The reason the right answer was, relax, everything's fine, is because that alarming data was simply demonstrating a scientific law of marketing, as reliable as gravity. It's called the double jeopardy law. Think of it this way. Imagine two coffee shops on the same street. One is massive. Let's call it Global Coffee. The other is a cozy independent spot called Local Beans. Global Coffee has way more customers. That's advantage number one. But here's the kicker. The second part of double jeopardy. Global Coffee's customers also visit slightly more frequently than Local Beans' customers. The little shop gets hammered twice. Fewer customers to start with, and those customers are also a bit less loyal. This isn't because Global Coffee discovered some secret loyalty potion. It's just a predictable pattern. Bigger market share always means more buyers, and those buyers are always a touch more loyal. The loyalty doesn't create the size. The size creates the loyalty. So when that Colgate manager saw Crest's higher percentage of loyal buyers, she wasn't spotting a crisis. She was witnessing a law of nature. Colgate's numbers were exactly what you'd expect for a brand its size. The problem was just misunderstanding how markets actually work. This is the first domino Byron Sharp knocks over. For decades, marketing has been absolutely obsessed with loyalty. We're constantly told it's cheaper to keep a customer than find a new one. Build relationships. Create brand love. Sharp looks at data from hundreds of categories, across dozens of countries, spanning decades, and basically says, nope, that's not how growth actually happens. Remember that famous line, it costs 5 times more to get a new customer than keep an existing one. Sharp reveals there's literally zero empirical evidence supporting this. It came from a thought experiment based on a huge, flawed assumption that you could dramatically reduce customer churn for free. But reality doesn't work that way. All brands lose customers, Just like all coffee shops and all relationships eventually lose people. It's inevitable. And here's another law. Sharp uncovered. Brands lose customers in proportion to their size. Big brands lose more customers in raw numbers. But as a percentage, they actually lose fewer than small brands. Double jeopardy strikes again. He shows data for car brands in the UK. Market leader Ford had a defection rate of 31%. Smaller brand Peugeot, 57%. Was Peugeot's customer service terrible? Were their cars falling apart? Nope. Their defection rate was higher simply because they were smaller. Completely predictable. So if you can't dramatically stop customers from leaving, because defection is just part of the game, what's the only path to growth? Acquisition. Getting new customers. Sounds almost too simple, right? But Sharp shows that when brands grow, it almost always comes from attracting new buyers, not squeezing more loyalty from existing ones. Growth is a penetration game. It's about getting more people to buy you, even if they only do it occasionally. This leads to the next sacred marketing cow Sharp slaughters, the famous Pareto principle, or the 80-20th rule. We've all heard it. 80% of your sales come from 20% of your customers. The obvious conclusion? Pour all your energy into that top 20%, your heavy buyers, your superfans. But when Sharp's team dug into actual purchase data, they found something fascinating. The 80-20th rule is basically a myth. For most brands, it's closer to 50-20ths or 60-20ths. The top 20% of customers account for about half your sales, which means the other half comes from the long tail, that bottom 80%, your light buyers. And this is where things get truly mind-bending. Let's look at one of the biggest, most dominant brands on earth, Coca-Cola. Who do you picture as a heavy Coke buyer? Someone guzzling it daily, multiple times a day? The data shows the average Coca-Cola buyer in the UK purchases it for themselves about 12 times a year, roughly once a month. But that average is misleading, because a few people buy it hundreds of times yearly. To balance them out, you need masses of people buying it way less. So what does a typical Coke buyer actually look like? They buy Coke for themselves maybe once or twice a year. Let that marinate for a second. Half of all Coke customers buy the product at most twice annually. If you personally buy Coca-Cola more than 3 times a year, congratulations. You're officially one of Coke's heavy buyers. This isn't unique to Coke. It's a universal pattern. For nearly every brand in every category, the customer base is overwhelmingly light, infrequent buyers. These aren't fans. They don't have a relationship with the brand. They barely think about it. Yet collectively, they're the foundation of the entire business. This exposes a fatal flaw in targeting only heavy buyers. You're not just ignoring half your business. Sharp reveals another law, the law of buyer moderation. People who were heavy buyers this year will, on average, buy less next year. Light buyers will buy more. Some non-buyers will buy you next year. People's habits fluctuate. It's like regression to the mean. Focus only on this year's heavy buyers and you're chasing a group guaranteed to shrink. The radical implication? To maintain your brand, let alone grow it, you must constantly reach all those light buyers, the ones who could easily forget you exist. So the next logical question is, okay, if I need to reach tons of buyers, who are they? What kind of person buys my brand? This brings us to the myth of segmentation and targeting. Classic marketing textbooks say find your niche. Identify a specific demographic or psychographic group your brand appeals to. Different brands supposedly sell to different types of people. To test this, researchers back in 1959 did something interesting. They gave personality tests to Ford and Chevrolet owners. These brands had spent fortunes building distinct images. Ford was practical and conservative. Chevy was flashy and modern. Everyone, executives, academics, believed their buyers must be fundamentally different people. The results came back and shocked the marketing world. Ford and Chevrolet owners had essentially identical personality profiles. People argued at first. They said the study was flawed, but then it was repeated again and again with different products, different countries, hundreds of variables, demographics, values, media habits. Same result every time. Competing brands sell to the same types of people. Your customer base looks just like your competitors. The only real difference is size. Sharp shares brilliant examples. Beer brands in Canada, Coors, Budweiser, Corona, different prices, different origins, different images, yet their customer profiles are nearly indistinguishable. Same mix of men and women, young and old, across all income levels. Perhaps the most hilarious example is the Yorkie chocolate bar in the UK. For years, Nestle ran an aggressive campaign with the slogan, "It's not for girls." The packaging literally showed a woman with a line through her. If there was ever an attempt to target a specific segment, in this case, men, this was it. So what does Yorkie's customer base actually look like? About 56% male and 44% female. Despite a campaign literally telling half the population not to buy it, women still make up nearly half its customers. The lesson is profound. Your brand doesn't grow by appealing to a small, specific tribe. It grows by appealing broadly to everyone who buys the category. The idea of a niche brand is largely a myth. Most niche brands are just small brands. Fewer buyers, slightly less loyal. They're not special. They're just following double jeopardy. This means your competitors, customers, could be your customers. Nothing fundamentally different about them stops them from buying you, and your customers could just as easily be theirs. This leads to the biggest, most foundational myth of all, the one every marketing course, textbook, and consultant has drilled into our heads as ultimate truth. Differentiate or die. The idea is simple. Find a unique selling proposition, a meaningful difference that gives customers a reason to choose you over everyone else. Without it, you're just a commodity, and you're doomed. Sharp argues this is the most damaging myth in marketing. He asks a simple question. Do buyers actually perceive the brands they buy as meaningfully different? His team conducted massive studies across dozens of categories. Soft drinks, banking, cars. They asked regular buyers a simple question. Is this brand different or unique from others? The results were stunning. On average, only about 10% of a brand's own customers believe it's unique or different. Think about that. 90% of people who loyally buy a brand don't see it as special or different from competitors. They buy it anyway. He even looks at Apple, the poster child, for differentiation. In a late 90s study, when Apple's design and operating system were starkly different from PCs, only 27% of Apple's own users saw the brand as different or unique. Most of its users, its supposed fanatics, saw it as just another computer doing computer things. So if people don't buy brands because they're different, why do they buy them? This is where Sharp introduces the most important idea in the entire book. Marketers should stop chasing meaningful differentiation and instead pursue meaningless distinctiveness. What's the difference? Differentiation is about what you say, having a unique feature or benefit. Our toothpaste whitens better. Distinctiveness is about what people see and recognize. Having unique sensory cues, colors, logos, fonts, taglines, characters, jingles, that make your brand instantly identifiable. You don't need a reason to choose McDonald's over Burger King. You just need to spot those golden arches from a distance and have your brain instantly register McDonald's. The red can with the white swirl doesn't persuade you Coke beats Pepsi. It just ensures when you're thinking cola, Coke comes to mind. That's distinctiveness. Being easy to notice and easy to remember. This brings us to the grand unifying theory of how brands grow. If all the old rules are myths, what are the new ones? Sharp boils it down to two simple, powerful concepts: mental availability and physical availability. That's it. That's the whole game. Marketing's entire purpose is building these two assets. Mental availability means being easy to think of. It's the probability a buyer will notice, recognize, or think of your brand in a buying situation. It's not just brand awareness. It's building a rich network of memories in people's minds. Someone thinks refreshing. They think Coke. Quick lunch. They think Subway. They see a swoosh. They think Nike. Advertising's primary job isn't to persuade, but to build and refresh these memory structures, making the brand salient and easy to recall. Physical availability means being easy to buy, distribution. Making your brand as easy to find and purchase as possible, for as many people as possible in as many situations as possible. Coca-Cola's famous goal was being within an arm's length of desire. If someone thinks of your brand but can't find it easily, they'll just buy something else. They don't care enough to go on a quest. Brands with high market share are always strong in both mental and physical availability, easy to think of, easy to find. Small brands are weak in one or both. This simple theory explains everything we've discussed. It explains why price promotions and loyalty programs often fail to create long-term growth. They're terrible at reaching new, light buyers. They mostly reward existing customers for doing what they were already planning to do. They don't build mental or physical availability among the people you need to reach. It explains why advertising works, not by persuading people with rational arguments, but by reaching massive audiences and gently nudging their memories. It keeps the brand top of mind, so when a buying situation arises, your brand gets considered. Advertising's job is to reach, not to teach. And it explains why brands grow through penetration. By building mental and physical availability, you make your brand an easy, obvious choice for more people. You get more light buyers. Your penetration increases. And as a predictable consequence of that increased market share, your loyalty metrics tick up slightly. The marketer's job, then, isn't being a creative genius hunting for magical differentiation. It isn't being a psychologist building deep emotional relationships with a tribe of superfans. According to Byron Sharp, a marketer's job is being a systematic, evidence-based manager of availability. Make your brand easy to think of and easy to buy for everyone. It's a simpler job, but in many ways much harder. It requires discipline, consistency, and relentless focus on reach. It's not magic, it's science. What I find so powerful about Byron Sharp's work is its liberating clarity. For so long, marketing has been wrapped in myth and mystery. Treated like a dark art, a complex psychological chess game where you outwit consumers, build brand personalities, and create armies of passionate advocates. Sharp, with the cool precision of a scientist, sweeps all that off the table. He replaces superstition with evidence, complexity with simple, repeatable laws. He tells us our job isn't being a magician, it's being a gardener. Make sure your brand is planted everywhere it can grow. That's physical availability. Make sure it gets enough sun and water to be noticed and remembered. That's mental availability. The most profound lesson for me is shifting focus from trying to be loved to simply being thought of. The idea that Coca-Cola's empire is built not on fanatics, but on millions of people who barely think about it and buy it maybe once a year, that changes everything. It's humbling. It reminds us our brands are tiny, insignificant parts of customers' lives. Our job isn't demanding their love and devotion, but simply earning a fleeting moment of attention when it matters most, in a buying situation. This approach feels more honest and far more effective. It frees you from the pressure of inventing some unique, world-changing brand purpose for toilet paper or canned soup. Instead, it directs energy toward what actually works: consistency, reach, and distinctiveness. So how can you start applying these ideas today? Here are a few simple thoughts. First, stop obsessing over your ideal customer. Look at the data for who buys the entire category. That's your audience. Your next question shouldn't be, how do I appeal to this tiny slice? But rather, how can I cost-effectively reach more of all of them? Second, audit your brand's distinctive assets. What are your non-negotiable sensory cues? Colors, logo, tagline, packaging shape. Are you using them consistently everywhere, all the time? If you change packaging or ad style with every campaign, you're essentially making your brand invisible to light buyers who only see you occasionally. And third, change your core marketing question. Instead of asking, "What's my unique selling proposition?" start asking, "How can I make my brand easier to remember and easier to find in one more situation than yesterday?" This simple shift from persuasion to availability is the heart of Sharp's philosophy. It's moving from arguing with people to just showing up. That was a journey through the core ideas of how brands grow by Byron Sharp. We've covered the major landmarks today, but honestly, a summary is like looking at a travel brochure. The real adventure happens when you take the trip yourself. It's in those quiet reading moments when a particular chart, specific study, or simple sentence connects with your own experience and gives you that aha moment. This summary is a map designed to show you the destination and help you decide if it's a journey worth taking. If anything we've talked about has sparked your curiosity or challenged what you thought you knew, I encourage you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning marketing principles. It's about fundamentally changing how you see the world of commerce and the people within it. A link to the book is in the description below. Also, if you found some value in our time together today, it would mean the world if you'd hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss our next deep dive into another transformative book from the billionaire's bookshelf. Let's keep learning and growing together.